Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Mansfield Book. All right, everybody, welcome to the Mansfield Buzz. We are on every single Tuesday at 2 p.m. Central Time, and we're always interviewing a local business in the Mansfield and surrounding area. Today, we're going to talk to Johnny Castor of Legal Shield, but before we get to him, we're going to go over a few things, and that is right now, if you happen to be watching us on YouTube or even today on Facebook, possibly, please go over to youtube.com and go to our good old handle at mansfieldtxbuzz.com. Go on there and give us a subscribe button. Hit that notification bell, so every time we go live, you'll be informed to come on and join us on the show. For those of you that have not been on the show, or listened to an archive, if you're a local business and you would like to come on and join us, we are booked. Johnny, you'll love this, all the way through January 9th. And we're looking to get the rest of January booked out. So we have a business. Of course, we're coming up with some holidays, so be aware, Thanksgiving and Christmas, we're out, New Year's. So you can grab an archive during that time. But the good thing is we're still doing really well. We're almost to 80 subscribers now. We started in March. We're still averaging around 40 watch time hours and close to between 1,000, 2,000 views every 28 days. So we are just ecstatic about the growth. And even though because we have to work real hard, Johnny, because we're local, we're pushing this out to local folks. So we're not trying to get a nationwide audience, because we want the people in this area to pay attention and use the services and products from our local business. But also, I'm missing somebody, Johnny. I think he's with a client today, or something's come up, but Jordan is not here today. Now, Jordan possibly could be with a client, and he's just now going to jump in with us. When he does, I'll add him to the studio. But Johnny, you're the first to have to go through this. First of all, I want to introduce Johnny Castor. So, Johnny, you have something famous you love to say in the network groups. Would you please inform our audience that hasn't heard you say this before? So, Johnny, you're on.
Well, hello, I'm Johnny Castor with Legal Shield.
Man, I love that. And he's going to tell us some great stories today. But we added a new segment to the show called Icebreakers. So we got 3 things that I've dug up on Johnny from some of his social media, especially on LinkedIn. So we're going to jump right in right now to our new segment called Icebreakers. All right, Johnny. So we're kind of creating new segments as we build the show, right? Icebreakers came up because some of our audience said, "Why don't you give us some more details about their background?" So we're listening to our people that are listening to our channel, and we're trying to add stuff. But here's something really cool. I'm going to put this up. The first icebreaker conversation with you is, you had something to do with martial arts and self-defense.
Yes, I started taking karate about 28 years ago, and then started teaching it, and then got into learning about Krav Maga, which is the Israeli military martial art.
Right.
And Pat Burleson, who is my sensei, he and I started what was called Christian Soldiers, and we taught that through the churches. And had almost 50 churches that were teaching karate and self-defense, and also the Bible during those times that we were teaching. And they were really something.
That's just awesome. So martial arts and self-defense. And our next icebreaker question, welcome, Jordan. Can it? Yeah, he's got to turn his volume
Oh,
on.
I got the mute on. Hello.
Yeah, so you must be in a different location today. How much?
I am. I totally
That's
am.
that's
That's one of the
great.
beauties of having a remote podcast is you can hop on
The
anywhere in the
link
world.
the link works no matter what. And I will tell you that whatever you did yesterday, we are now on Facebook today. So just let you know. So we went through the ice. We're in our second icebreaker question before you jump in with him on the questions, and that is, um, what did you do? And I think this is going to really shock some folks. I know it is because we've talked this story before. But what did you do right out of college?
Well, when I went to Tarleton State, I went on a football and rodeo scholarship.
Unbelievable.
And when I graduated, I rodeoed professionally full time for a year and drove almost 100,000 miles from South Texas to Calgary, Canada, to the East Coast of the West Coast. And also had the opportunity to ride in the national finals in calf roping.
That's unbelievable. And I know you loved it. You used to when we sat down and talked about it. You just loved that part of your life on the rodeo side.
Mm-hmm.
So for those folks that did not know that Johnny did this, there you go. And finally, our last icebreaker question is on your LinkedIn profile. It stated you're certified at something. What is that?
I'm a certified trainer in learning styles and personality profiles. And I got into that because as a pastor, I did a lot of counseling and I would ask people, what do they hear me saying? And it wasn't what I was saying. So I I got trained in this and got certified because too many times when we say things, people aren't hearing what we're saying. So I teach them how to be able to understand how to communicate to people better so they understand. And the learning styles help you understand who you are. And it was an amazing opportunity to learn that.
Yeah, and so I hope y'all enjoyed that because that's, we don't have time in our network groups, right, Johnny, in 30 seconds to tell people everything about us, but it's always nice to know. I mean, you're talking about training in martial arts, you're talking in education, you're talking about rodeo, and then you're talking about being certified in learning modules, which is really cool. So we got Jordan here today, and Jordan likes to jump in and ask you the questions today, and we got a series of 10 you sent us you'd like us to ask you, and I'm pretty sure if people are listening and want to chat with us through Facebook or through YouTube, feel free to chat and ask a question. We'll post it if it's reasonable and let Johnny try to answer it. Johnny, we may ad lib off some of these questions too. So Jordan, jump in, my friend.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun. I cheated because you and I have talked, so I know the answers to these questions.
Yes.
But Johnny, I mean, I know your story, so it is fantastic. But for the people that are watching the show, can you tell us a little bit about your business background? I know you've covered quite the gamut, and I love to fill us in and just the journey that the journey that this whole different sets of careers that you've had has brought you up to this point.
Well, of course, I learned to train horses when I was younger, before I went to college while I was in high school. And that was one of my businesses is training horses. And then I actually uh, went and spent 3 months with my brother in Arizona. He was teaching special education to the Navajo Indians. And while I was there, they taught me how to make Indian jewelry. So while I was in college, I made Indian jewelry and sold that. And then while I was
Wow.
rodeoing and drove almost 100,000 miles, I decided I didn't like driving that much. So I stopped doing that full time and started building houses. A friend of mine and I then started building a restaurant chain called Old Spaghetti Warehouse Restaurants. And then when we finished that, we started a building supply business. We're doing real well with that till two builders decided they wanted to claim Chapter 11 bankruptcy and owed us $200,000 apiece.
Wow.
And so we had to close the doors, and he went one way, and I went into a management training with a restaurant chain called Chuck E. Cheese's Peach Time Theater. And I not only became the general manager, but they asked me to be the training manager because I was the only one that hadn't been in fast food, and I knew how to service people.
Yeah.
So I was doing the training for that, and my PR manager said, "You're a frustrated preacher." And I said, "No, I'm not. Shut up." But I ended up surrendering to the ministry and going into the ministry from there, and pastored for almost 25 years. So
Jordan, you know what we really need to ask Johnny? What haven't you done?
I know, right?
Would that have been the better question to ask? What haven't you done? So that's pretty cool stuff. So yeah, I guess Jordan's going to lead you into the next question. I'm curious about this myself.
Well, I want to dive a little bit deeper because when you and I chatted, Johnny, we talked about your time at Chuck E. Cheese, and I thought that was really special, particularly your style of management and how you worked with the kids working in Chuck E. Cheese, right? And it's something that I don't see a lot of young people that get on the workforce, particularly that like high school age. It's a very impressionable time for us, and most of us have not had the chance to work with managers that actually like care about us as people. So I'd love it if you could share a little bit of your experience working with young kids while you were at Chuck E. Cheese.
Well, I wanted to share this story, but I had a young lady. She had just graduated from high school. She was my daytime cashier, trying to make enough money to go to college. And one day she came in and she didn't look happy. And I asked her, "Kaylin, what's wrong?" And she said, "Well, just had some hard things happen last night." I said, "Well, what's going on?" She said, "Well, my dad pulled me and my mom in, sat us on the couch and started telling us all the things that are going wrong. Then he pulled out a gun and shot himself."
Oh.
And I said, "What?" I said, "Kaylin, what are you doing here?" She said, "This is the only place I feel wanted." Wow. So I spent the rest of the day, took her off the cash register, put somebody else there, and spent the rest of the day talking to her in the office, just trying to comfort her and let her know she's got a hope for the future. And that's part of why I surrendered the ministry.
Wow. Deep.
Yeah. And just like that, yeah, I know, because I've talked to you, Johnny, you have a lot of stories like that. You impacted a lot of people where you were there and made a difference. And I believe you still keep in touch with some of the people you worked that work for you.
I do.
You still do. And that speaks volumes. And so, I mean, obviously that took you to going into the ministry. Mm-hmm. And well, first tell us a little bit about your time there and what brought you to the ministry, and then eventually you left. But fill us in on all the all your adventures there, because I know you have some good stories there as well.
Well, I pastored Northeast Texas in a little town called Clarksville, which is in between Paris and Texarkana.
Yep.
And that was a new experience, because when I went up there, it was like I went back in time about 50 years, because just south of Clarksville is a little town called Mount Pleasant, and they had just taken down the sign that said, "We've got the blackest dirt and the whitest people." And I didn't know that. And when I brought my friend who happened to be black to preach a revival, I thought everybody had asthma, because they went, "Oh!" And so, but they learned to love him. And I did so much to stretch them. They'd never heard a message on grace or mercy. It was all hellfire and brimstone. And I wasn't raised that way. The church I grew up in, we preach grace and mercy, and we had everything from Hispanic to Asian to blacks to you name it. We had them in our church, and we loved them.
Yeah.
And just being there, my heart broke for these people, and I tried to minister to them. And then I had some that did like me, and they enjoyed playing little pranks on me because, see, they called me Pastor Castor, and one of the other pastors there was Kevin Plaster. So they said, Pastor Plaster, this is Pastor Castor. Pastor Castor, this is Pastor Plaster. So they really enjoyed that. And then one day I had a call from one of my members, and he asked me, could I do a funeral for a friend of his? And I said, yeah. When's it going to be and where? And he said, well, come out the house about noon on Wednesday. So I go out there, and we're talking, and he's telling me about his friend Jake and how good a friend he was, and just always hard worker and there for him for anything he needed. And finally I said, well, Kent, when is the funeral? I mean, when are we going to need to be at the funeral home? He said, well, it's not going to be at a funeral home. And I said, oh, okay. What cemetery? And he said, well, it's not going to be a cemetery. And I said, we can't bury somebody that's in a place that's not a cemetery. It's not legal. And he said, oh, it'll be okay. And I said, no, it won't. And he said, come on, hop in the truck. We go out in the back, and he's got his front end loader dug a hole. The body was covered in a tarp. And I said, we can't do this. It's against the law. And when he pulled back the tarp, it was his mule. So I've done a funeral for a mule.
Jordan, I'm going to have to get off a minute.
Oh my God, that is awesome.
I've had really different experiences.
Stop.
I went to visit a family, and they had visited, and I was encouraging them. While I was sitting on the couch, I noticed fleas jumping up in front of me off the carpet. And I tried to cut it short because when I got home, I had to shower and get all those fleas off of me. So it was a different experience there.
No kidding.
Then I came to Fort Worth and was associate pastor of a church in Fort Worth, Sagamore Hill Baptist Church. Enjoyed that. I loved the church because that was the church I grew up in, and people knew me, and it was something that I was able to put my heart into. But it was really difficult because it got to where I was doing an average of 50 funerals a year.
Wow.
And working 80 hours a week and counseling 20 hours a week, and felt like I was introducing myself to my wife when I come home at night. And I said, that's not what ministry is about.
Right.
So that's when I resigned and left there and started 4 different businesses.
There you go. Man, I had to stop there for a second, Johnny. You're a great storyteller, and I didn't know what to expect there. That was pretty good.
I didn't either.
I'm still.
We almost lost Herdy there.
Yeah, you did. I almost had to jump myself, put myself on mute, and go step away for a second. I'm still doing it. So, anyhow, let's get that next question, Jordan, before I lose it over here. That's pretty good. That's a great story.
All right. So, you've had quite the roller coaster at the ministry. Then you left, and you said you started 4 businesses?
Yes.
All right,
now I have 5.
It goes back to what haven't you done before?
All right. So which one was the first one you started?
Yeah.
While I was in the ministry, I was teaching martial arts and taught that for about 25 years. And so I started doing self-defense seminars and doing them for businesses and schools and different places like that. And then a friend of mine and I started a teacher placement business where we sent teachers to Thailand to teach English, math, and science. And so I'd go over there once a year and speak to the Thai universities. And I'd also, while I was there, I would teach self-defense. So that was another one. And then while I was on staff, my wife worked for a company that did tours to Israel, and they moved. And so she got another job. So I started a tour company called Fresh Wind Tour and Travel, where I lead tours to Israel and Greece. And enjoyed that and still enjoy that, except right now it's kind of slow. But
yeah, you think.
And then the personality and profile, I'm doing seminars for schools and businesses, because the schools, most teachers only teach to one learning style, and there's 4. So I want to help them understand how to be able to communicate and teach to all 4 styles, because I understood my style and most of them didn't teach to that style. So that's why I was kind of a loose gun. And then somebody showed me Legal Shield.
I'm just really curious. What are the 4 styles?
The 4 styles, everybody thinks 2 different ways. Either concrete, what you see is what it is, or abstract, everything's not necessarily as it appears. But we process the way we think 2 different ways. One is sequential, inline, systematic, in a box, or random. So a concrete sequential learner is one who tell me what to do, how to do it, when to do it. And that's the way most teachers teach, because you go into a classroom, how are the chairs seated? In line, and that's the way they teach. An abstract sequential, they will do the same things, except they're going to do research to find out it needs to be done that way. Then the concrete random is where they got the child psychology. If you want them to do something, tell them they can't do it and they'll die trying. They're kind of stubborn, but they're very creative, have a high sense of humor, and very intuitive, but they're not good team players because they don't think anybody can do as good as they can.
Yeah.
Then the abstract random, they don't even know there's a box. And they're the ones that they think way outside the box and do things. A very famous abstract random was Albert Einstein. Germany tried to get him to teach in the universities, and he didn't want to follow their plan. So he went and taught at Hebrew University in Jerusalem. And that's where he got all his different theories, because he thought outside the box.
Yeah. So Johnny, you know what I clarify somebody that doesn't know there's a box? I wonder if they were born in space or just lived there.
Well, I'm a little spacey.
Yeah. Oh, this is so fun.
I know. I'm so glad I asked you.
We're gonna start bringing Johnny on as our 3rd host, I think, starting next week. All right. So the fun stuff with all this stuff, Jordan, he's got behind us, man. Let me throw that up for you. So this is what I want to hear about, because this is pretty important, good stuff here, Johnny.
Well, the reason I got into Legal Shield was it offers a free will, living will, healthcare power of attorney, and financial power of attorney for a husband and wife. I needed that, so I bought the plan. And the next week, I ran into 5 different people that could use what that offered, different plans. And so I thought, hey, well, I need to leave money on the table. So I went ahead and I did that. Now, it's been very beneficial to me because it helps in one case of mine, because I developed a syndrome when I was younger called a heavy foot syndrome. And that was diagnosed by highway patrolman when I was driving too fast. And it keeps tickets off my record.
Jordan has that too. Just so you know.
So it's been very beneficial for me to do that. But, you know, it also offers unlimited consultation
Bet.
and unlimited letters and phone calls made on your behalf, and unlimited contracts and documents reviewed, and
unlimited lead foot syndrome.
Yeah. And those have really been good. Now, when I first got into it, I was a little, I didn't know the wording. So I said, you can ask as many questions as you want. I forgot to say legal. One of my clients that bought called me and said, I just want to tell you, you really can ask as many questions as you want, because I asked one of them, I didn't think they'd answer. And I said, what's that? And said, well, I was looking for a flat screen TV, and I called and asked, which one should I get, a Sony or a Samsung? And I said, you what? He said, yeah. What did he say? He said, well, he told me he was going to look up the warranties on them and then get back with me. And he found out the warranties, and then he called me back and told me those and said, here, maybe that'll help you make a better decision, but I can't tell you which one to get. And I thought, I can't believe he did that. So I learned to change and say unlimited legal questions.
Yeah. Hey, Johnny, Sandra Fawcett just chatted with us, and she said, hey, Johnny, hi, Johnny, how do you come up with social media posts? And it says something about Castor's chuckle of the day.
I make up some jokes. I have friends that give me jokes, and I hear some, you know, like had a friend that asked me one time, what do you call a cow that just had a baby? And he said, decaffeinated.
Oh, I'm stealing that one.
Oh, and you know, then one said, you heard about the kidnapping at the local high school? And I said, no. They said, yeah, he woke up after class.
Oh my God, Curdy, I don't know we're gonna make it.
No, we're at the 28-minute mark, and I'm already ready to say, and let's take it from here. We need a music break. We need a music break.
The one thing that Legal Shield does is it's affordable, and it protects you with the legal aspect, but also the identity theft is so good. And I've got one story about my identity theft. One of my clients, sweet lady, she was driving down the road, made a right-hand turn, but forgot to use her blinker. The police caught her, pulled her over, and were going to give her a warning, but they found out she had a warrant for arrest. So they took her downtown, and they were booking her, and she found out she was being arrested for prostitution. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, she was 83 years old. So she called the legal department, and they got her released on her own recognizance, and then called the identity theft department, and then they went to work and found out that her housekeeper had gotten her driver's license number, and she had been arrested for prostitution and jumped bail. So they got all that cleared up for her. But then the news media got word about it and wanted to interview her. And they said, Miss Johnson, how'd you feel about being arrested for prostitution? And she said, well, honey, I was kind of flattered at my age.
Oh. Oh my God, that's awesome. I mean,
I'm almost scared to go through the next 5 questions.
I know. I do. I do
Well,
want to ask
you.
I do want to ask you one question though, because I am curious. Because I don't think Legal Shield has been around for that long, or maybe it has, but I am curious as to how did it get started? Because I feel like before, like you either could afford a lawyer or you couldn't, and the majority of people couldn't unless they were in severe trouble.
Well, back in 1970, Harlan Stonecipher, who started Legal Shield, started as prepaid legal, but he was driving down the road in Oklahoma and got hit head on and put him in the hospital. And while he was in the hospital, the lady that hit him filed a lawsuit on him. Now, it was her fault, but he had some traffic tickets and they thought they could get by with that. So he spent almost his life savings proving he was innocent. Now, he sold health insurance and life insurance, but he didn't have any insurance to help him with this. So he decided he didn't want anybody else to go through that. So he did a tremendous research, found out in Europe they had legal insurance. So he got what they did, brought it over here, and were able to hire different law firms to represent Legal Shield. And now there's a law firm in every state, in every province in Canada that represents Legal Shield. And so they've been instituted since 1972. So it's been 50 some odd years that they've been in existence. Went from prepaid legal to Legal Shield because prepaid got a negative connotation.
Right. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a legal shield of protection over the family. So that's kind of how it got started, and because equal justice is the color green unless you have Legal Shield.
Yep. Good point.
Yeah, and that's a great way to think about it. Legal insurance. That's
yeah.
I hadn't really thought about it that way, but yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, you would think, Johnny, that at some point in your life, people are going to need something to do, whether it's as simple as a will or power of attorney or, even tickets or stupid stuff that could happen. Somebody's going to need to be represented, and here's the place you can do that. And I encourage everybody to reach out to Johnny on that. So
before somebody steals your ID and then you get dubious charges.
Yeah, we're going to hear some jokes if you don't stop it, Jordan. So. So obviously he has a passion for this, right, Jordan?
Oh, yes. Yes. So why do you believe in Legal Shield so much? I mean, to the point where you mentioned you got the service, then, you met other people that needed the service, but I'm like, you represent Legal Shield and you really, it is obvious that you believe in it. So give me a little bit of the why behind it.
Well, I signed up as an associate, after I got it that next week because I knew I had people I could sell it to, sold it to them. But a couple of months later was the convention for Legal Shield. And after I went to the convention, it went from my head to my heart because people talked about how they were able to help people. And it's kind of like I had a lady call me. Her mother gave her my business card and she said she needed the plan. And I said, that's great. You want to tell me a little bit of what you need it for? And she said, well, I need to get a divorce. And I said, well, I'm not an advocate for divorce. Tell me what's going on. Said, well, my husband's an alcoholic and he goes out and drinks 3 or 4 nights a week. And before he goes out to drink, he chains me to the bed. When he comes home, he beats me. And I'm afraid for my children's safety. That broke my heart.
Yeah.
So I said, I will help you. The next morning, I went and picked her and her children up, took them to Safe Haven and got them situated, got her an attorney. The attorney helped her with a divorce, a restraining order, and filed charges on him and put him in jail. And then for the next 6 months, I spent counseling with her and her children, going through the grief process of the trauma that she went through.
Wow.
And literally, I do more ministry now through Legal Shield than I ever did on staff at the church.
Amazing.
And that's my why,
Wow.
is doing it for God.
Yeah. And if you've been around Johnny, you know that to be true. That's his number one sole purpose. And he talks about that a lot. And I know, and I did my 1-to-1 with him. We had that deep conversation about the God thing and the ministry. And it's just, and he really does dedicate this business to the Lord. So really great, Johnny. Thank you. Good story. Wow.
I can see that coming through. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's just part of who he is. That's great.
And has Legal Shield made a difference in your life?
It really has. It gives me a confidence, but it's a lot of the money that I make. There are people that would never have an opportunity to go to Israel, and on my tours, we would be able to pay for their trips to go to Israel, and that has made a difference in helping them do that. And it also makes a difference that when you get treated unfairly, that you're able to do something about it instead of saying, oh, well. It's kind of like, and this may sound very trivial, but I went to Sam's and was getting gas. And while I was pumping gas, I noticed that the price at the pump was higher than the price on the sign by 4 cents. So I finished filling up and I went into the service desk, told the service manager, and he said, well, you're the 4th one that's told me that. And I said, okay. So I'm standing there and he said, can I help you with something else? And I said, my refund? And he said, oh, well, our store policy is you pay what the pump says. And I said, not if you're advertising another price. And he said, no, I'm sorry. That's the policy. So I took out my phone because I can call the law firm, and I told them what was going on. And I said, I need to speak to an attorney. So they said, wait 1 minute. Well, the amount that I was shorted was 54 cents. And so it wasn't a lot, but it still was a principal. The other 4 didn't get anything. So when the attorney got on there, I told him what was going on, And so the guy pulls out a quarter and puts it on the desk and said, "Here, that'll take care of it." And the attorney said, "You must not have understood what I said. It's 54 cents." So he pulled out another quarter and said, "Well, 50 cents ought to be okay." He said, "Sir, you either give him what he's owed or we'll have to file a lawsuit." And all of a sudden, he pulled out another quarter and said, "Here, will 75 cents do?" And the attorney said, "Yes, sir. Thank you very much. And I hope you have a great day." So we say we cover everything from the trivial to the traumatic. But that's
Right.
what's made a difference in my life, is not letting people take advantage.
Yeah. Good. And you know, you say it's only 54 cents, but if you think about 30 people filling up that day
Yeah.
that didn't bother to read the pump and just assumed the price on the sign was right? Adds up.
Mm-hmm.
Adds up. Good story.
Yeah, and it's he knew what he was doing, so he needed somebody to put him in his place. So I love how you just said that it comes from like the trivial to the dramatic. What is some of the ways that Legal Shield helps people today, and like the more like day to day, or like some of the stuff that you see a little bit more average?
Well, today it's, especially today this year, identity theft has gone up 68%.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Crazy. It's crazy.
And it's unbelievable. And I had one of my clients that she got a call from her son on her phone, and she was talking to him on the phone, saw his picture there, him talking, and he said, "I'm in Tennessee and I've been arrested and I don't have the money for bail. Can you send me some money? I can't get a hold of mom and dad." So she was going to do that. She hung up and started to get ready to get all that together. And she got a notification from Legal Shield that her identity had been stolen and to please contact them. So she contacted them, and they told her that her identity had been stolen. And then she started telling them about, "Well, I'm kind of busy because my son just called me and told me he's in Tennessee and been arrested and he needs bail money." And they said, "Ma'am, why don't you hang up and call him?" And she called him and found out he was at home. So AI has taken a vast amount of problems for people that they don't even know about. And she believed it because she saw him on the phone, saw him talking. But AI can do remarkable things. And that's one thing. And with a legal situation, one of the plan that we have is that if somebody tries to sue you, you've got 60 hours of attorney's time paid for to represent you in a civil suit. And we live in a litigious society
You do.
where people try to sue you for anything. And it's like USA stands for you sue anybody for any reason at any time.
Yeah.
So it's protecting people that don't deserve to be sued from being sued because people think they can get away with it. So those are just a few of the things that how Legal Shield helps them. Contracts and documents, amazing how that the large print giveth, but the small print taketh away.
Yep.
That
Mhm.
really is, because I had one of my people call me and said he got a contract reviewed and found out that he was getting shorted money if he signed that contract, to where if when they reviewed it, they said, "Get this, this, and this changed because it's going to save you $20,000. So he did that and it did. So our world's in a world of chaos, and we need somebody here to help us and stand beside us. And Legal Shield does that.
And Johnny, the cool thing about ID theft is also once they get signed up on the program with you, they can go in and list all their important documents, cards, things of that nature, bank accounts, and get alerts from those three big credit unions, right? That if anybody tries to do that, you'll be alerted, which is important today. It doesn't stop the spam emails. So I always tell people when we talk about identity thefts, don't ever open any email or respond to anything until you verified it to be actually real outside that source.
And with the identity theft plan, you get a free VPN proxy for 15 devices.
Right.
And that's cool. A big deal.
Yep. I know you guys are now offering VPNs, and people should take advantage of VPNs because they actually mask your router and put you in a location that's bogus, meaning that server IP address masks your real IP address and keeps your traffic completely encrypted and private, which is fantastic. Yeah, don't get me on the technical side, but I get it. Okay, so there we go. All right.
Yeah, I think you've covered some of the important reasons why. People need a Legal Shield today. But is there any more you would like to add?
I think so many people don't realize the importance of the will and the living will because, some people say, well, I don't want to do my will yet because then I'll die. You're going to die anyway. Just you don't know when.
Right.
But to have that taken care of, because as a pastor, I have dealt with families that didn't have it, and it's a nightmare for them. And the will, and especially here in Texas, if you get the will done there, they help you probate it.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And it's necessary, and people don't realize the importance of a living will. People probably don't remember the lady in Florida that was on life support. Her husband was ready to pull the plug because she was brain dead, and her parents wouldn't let him. It cost him $3 million for them not to pull the plug.
Yeah. I have.
And she died.
Yeah. I have a power attorney, medical power attorney. It's something for my aging mom, right? And it's that paperwork's located not only with her primary care hospital and doctor. I have copies, so if something happens, they do now call me if she's in the hospital, right? And they tell me what's going on, and they report directly to me because of that piece of paper. So get those power attorneys, right, whatever they are, and let Legal Shield take care of those for you. So awesome.
Awesome. I wasn't aware of the difference between a will and a living will. So
the living will is one. It gives them the right to make a decision if to life or death for somebody if they're in that type of situation.
Yep.
That's really cool.
And it's stated in that power attorney too. That you have that all. Jordan, you kind of have that all listed out on that living will of power attorney that this is their wish, and it's all signed with witnesses or notarized or whatever. That's great. Legal Shield has that, so take advantage of that.
So if you were to so for the people listening, somebody's listening to this like, oh my God, yes, let's hop on it. How quickly can you get all that done? Is it as soon as you sign up, or is there a time period you got to wait?
If you sign up like today, you can actually call the law firm today, and you call and talk to a kind of somebody that listens to what you've got, the problem, and then they get an attorney that's experienced in the area of law that you need. It's kind of like you don't want a foot doctor working on your heart. You want an
No.
experienced attorney on that.
Yeah.
Like on the will and stuff, it usually takes about a week to get that taken care of. You get the forms and fill them out, then send them into the law firm. You can upload it to the law firm. They will print it up and then send it back to you and let you see it. And if it's what you want, then you get it notarized, let them know, and then they file it with the state. And that's a big deal.
So Johnny, you kind of covered all the cool stuff. You're passionate about it. And so, what keeps you offering Legal Shield? Besides, I guess you love it, and this is what we've already kind of discussed that. So I want to put a couple things up here for you. I noticed Jordan had the weed eater, the train, and the race car going by his location. So he put his mic on mute till the traffic went by, which is cool. But we're going to post this right now. Jordan, this is his contact number. And we'll leave this up for a minute because it'll be on the archive, but also legalcaster.net, which is really cool. And I would go to his Facebook page and sign up for his Caster Chuckles too. I mean, why not?
That alone is worth the price of admission.
I've laughed today, and it's been really kind of fun. And so, Johnny, any final thoughts? And what I'm going to ask you, as soon as let me get back up here into my dashboard, because I'm going to start some low-end music real quick and run here. So every network group meeting, and Jordan can verify this, when you first stand up, you say, "Hello, I'm Johnny Caster with Legal Shield." But at the end of a story, you always say something that everybody says together with you. Can you take us out with that? But before you do that, we're on every Thursday from 2 to 3. We love talking local businesses on YouTube, live on Facebook. Thank you to our chatters today that asked questions. Thank you for making me laugh, Johnny. So would you please take us out of this stream with what you do at the end? Fire away.
So remember, before the long arm of the law gives you the short end of the stick, you better call Johnny Caster really, really quick.
We'll see everybody.
I love it.
Have a great day.